Hi, everybody, and welcome to the show. This is Dave Emmons with The Strange Reality, and that's pictured in the background here with the UFO that pulls up somebody out of a car. That's happened quite a bit. It apparently has happened to me, and sometimes you don't even know it happens because you get numbed down. But The Strange Reality, we discuss topics like UFOs, paranormal, Bigfoot, cryptids, a little bit of everything, actually angels and spirituality and all that. So I'm not just narrowed down to one topic. This show covers a lot of topics, and I enjoy doing all different topics. We got the person on today that I met her on Facebook, and we've talked and chatted on text, and she's got her own Facebook page. And she's been a lifelong contactee, and I understand that very well because I'm right there with her on that. Her name is Nancy Thames. She's a former Department of Defense employee and a lifelong contactee. And the contactee and the experiencer, people are going to the contactee because if you had more one experience, then you are a contactee, right, Nancy? Yeah. So
yes.
A contactee of extraterrestrial beings has emerged as a significant voice in the realm of alien disclosure and spiritual awakening. Her journey, marked by personal struggles, transformed profoundly through her continuous extraterrestrial encounters. These experiences, initially suppressed, were eventually embraced as Nancy began to understand their purpose in her life and for her humanity. She has come to the decisive conclusion: it is time for disclosure, and we are overdue for that, I believe, Nancy. Her dedication to this cosmic narrative propelled her to create timefordisclosure.com. That's her own website, a platform advocating for open dialogue about extraterrestrial interactions and greater implications for humanity. And Nancy Thames, thank you so much for coming on. And could you elaborate a little bit more about what you're doing, what you have done that hasn't been talked about that I just didn't say a while ago?
Well, I am redoing the whole website and redoing some articles, updating it. And another thing that I really want to emphasize is that the UAP Medical Coalition, I think, plays an important role in all of this disclosure. And of course, there's two types of disclosure. There's the government disclosure, then the eventual extraterrestrial disclosure. So let's not get those two things confused,
Right.
so people understand that. But as this all rolls out, more information is laid out for us. There will be people that will be hurt, upset, because this goes against everything that they brought up to think. It goes against a lot of things. So it's a big cookie to swallow. So I sense a real need, and I've been encouraged by extraterrestrials to encourage the mental health personnel to open their minds and get educated in these fields, because a lot of people will start to wake up and they may not have the family members to talk to, and they may not know where to turn, so that they will be ready, because there will be a big need, I'm sure, for
Right.
And there's nothing wrong with mental health and seeking help and getting guidance. It's there for a reason. It's to help you.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's important that that we look at this as an overall picture. Not everybody, like you and I we're like a little UFO groupies. We keep up with all the news and everything. But what I'm talking about is the rest of the world that really don't know a lot about this. And it's going to put a lot of questions in their mind. And they're going to need guidance. And they're going to need people to talk to.
Right.
So that's one thing that's not on the website, and one thing that's not in the Facebook group, but it's something that I really feel is important. But I am a lifelong experiencer. I have never considered myself an abductee because I've always had positive experiences. That doesn't mean that there wasn't a long period of time that I was not scared. I would be lying to you if I said I was very scared.
Oh, yeah.
And,
That's something that people have to understand, that
yes,
we as contactees, abductees, we chase after these things because we want to know what this is all about. And yes, we have fear. Some people say, well, Dave, you're fearless. You go out west and look for this stuff. And I said, well, no, I'm just curious. I forget the fear. I also see that you grew up in Tennessee.
Yes,
You lived in Australia, Hawaii,
yes,
New Zealand, and throughout the Southeastern United States. So you have had exposure to different, I guess, geographical areas for UFO and ET encounters. So that's wow, you might be able to tell us some of those things. Has events happened in each one of those countries?
yes,
They have.
yes. They have been with me all my life. I consider them my family. I have the little short grays are used by the tall grays, and the little short gray one she's a female, and I consider her my ET mother. And every time since I was a little bitty toddler, ever since I was a little girl, that is who comes to get me and takes me to craft
Yeah,
wherever I am in the world.
you mentioned toddler. Could you tell us your first experience and how old were you?
Yeah, probably conscious memories. I remember at 3 and 4, especially 4 years old, and I'm sure it happened before that. But they would come and get me, and I would see myself as flying, although I was holding the little female Grace's hand. But then we were just flying over what I thought were, I guess now they were extraterrestrial cities or whatever, but we were flying, and they would say, "Oh, you're a little princess. You're flying around over all your cities." So they can also interject screen images
Right.
into lots of things that they do are to make you more comfortable and calm,
Right.
because the more comfortable and calm you are, the more consciousness you remember, and you can stay in that conscious state. The minute that you start having the fears and the anxiety, they sense that, because whatever we feel, it is tenfold to them. They feel it. They do not like that feeling. So
Mhm.
that's why a lot of times they tap people out, and just, you're subconscious, but you're still functioning and learning things. And that's why a lot of people have these fragmented memories, is because they were getting upset in their conscious state. So they stopped that. So,
Now,
basically,
Nancy,
yeah,
were these like regressed dreams, or did
no,
you feel like you were there? Face to
I
face?
was there.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
That's
I've
something.
never been regressed. I would like to do that, but I don't even know if I really need to. I don't know. We'll cross that bridge at some point, but they have always come to get me, and I've had lots of experiences on craft, other places, experiences. Um, and when I got into my later 20s, we'll say in my 20s, I started to realize I started to realize this is real. I didn't quite understand it all, and I did not totally accept it, but they started giving me more conscious memories of seeing them. And it took me a while to get used to it, and a lot of times, I would just briefly be conscious, and then I would remember anything else, and then I would wake up, that kind of thing.
Mhm.
So
Well,
I
well,
had lots. Go
yeah,
ahead.
you're exactly right. They do control your mind, and they can put things in your mind in a dream state. And
Yeah.
a lot of times, I've had regress dreams, and I've also had face to face. And one of the fears that I've had when I saw a reptilian. Now that's scary to a human being because I don't like cobras, and they kind of look like a cobra in the face, and
Mhm.
so that scared me. That's the only ET that scared me. The rest of them not that scary, but the reptilians know that, and they feed off of fear. Is what
Right.
they're the bad. They're the bad guys, Nancy.
Yeah. Well, I have met a reptilian before, but the one that I met was on craft with many other type beings. And every race, every race, like for example, the Anunnaki, there's many different races within the realm of Anunnaki, of reptilian. There's many different races of reptilians.
Right.
Grays, there's many different races of grays. I have been told that there's 62 different races of grays. And there's like different races of Arturians, different races of Palladians and Nordics, and the list goes on and on and on. So not all beings are good, but the majority are loving and ready to meet with humanity and to help us to grow into being galactic beings. But let me go back to how this all started connecting together, dots started coming together.
If you're like me, you got so many experiences, it's hard to, you want to take them chronological, that way that you might remember these things. And yeah, so that's how I do it sometimes. And I find myself just going, and especially if you've had more than one or two experiences like you,
yes,
it's going to be a litany of things that you have to talk about. Go ahead, Nancy. Sorry about it.
Okay. So when I was in my 30s in that area somewhere, I asked them, why me? What does this mean? Can you please explain to me what this is about? And what they did was they showed me a vision of myself waiting to be born. So I saw myself waiting, and I saw myself being born, and how my soul, I suppose, and my consciousness went in to this fetus, and then I was born. And they told me that when, just jokingly remember to breathe, but they don't really joke. They just kind of, they say, you'll know what to do. You already know things of this nature. So they showed me myself being born, and they showed me and told me that I had made an agreement to come here and and have this human experience at this particular time, because humanity, this is the biggest thing that humanity has ever faced. We are on a pivotal point where we are playing with technology that could wipe us out or wipe out everything that's innocent bystanders on our planet. And we could also try to bring this up into space. And they are not going to allow that. And the one thing that people need to understand is that extraterrestrials, and when I say that, I'm talking about the interdimensional beings. There are lower realms of extraterrestrials, but the ones that I am in contact with and who I consider my family, and I know pretty much now and have accepted that my true home I was an extraterrestrial before I came here, and then I made the choice to come here for this reason. And there's probably about 1 million other people like me that have incarnated here from different races, not just one race, different races. And we're spread out, and we're here all for the very same reason. We're on a mission to help humanity and to assist.
You brought up an important point about extraterrestrials and dimensional beings.
Yes.
There's a slight difference in those, but a lot of the beings that come here, the extraterrestrials, they come through portals, and they come through other dimensions, and they'll come to us. And also, we do have earthbound, ETs here, and the reptilians, they claim, live underground, and they cause a lot of trouble. They're the evil ones. And we also have humanoid ETs here on Earth, and they don't like us, from all indications I've been getting from a lot of the people that knows about it. I've ran into a few of those strange people. I know you have too, Nancy, because you must have some DNA manipulation from the encounters that you've had, and they can read your frequencies, and they know where you're at all the time. They don't need an implant. They just
exactly.
They just manipulate your DNA, and they can find your frequency. But I just wanted to talk about that. There's portals, and then there's some that come through dimensional fields, and you can tell that they can come through your walls in your house, and bingo, they're there. So those are dimensional, and it's hard to tell which one they are, really.
It is. I can tell the difference by the frequency. The ones that I'm really connected with, they have me vibrating on a very, very high frequency. And if they came to visit me next, or visit my neighbors next door, I would know it. And my son is an experiencer. My oldest son is an experiencer as well. And he is the same. He has his experiences. And we just got back from a trip in Mexico, and the extraterrestrials wanted both of us to be there, and they wanted us to learn some things. So he booked us a trip, and we went there, and it was San Jose del Pacifico. And this is up in the mountains on the southern Pacific side, lower southern Pacific side of Mexico. We flew into Mexico City and then flew a small plane over to Huataco, something like that. My Spanish is not good. So from there, we took a bus and went up the mountain. And when we got up there, it was a non-tourist area. There were no ATMs. There were no banks. There were no very sparse cell coverage, very sparse computer stuff. So we had to be prepared to go there. So once we got there, they came to see us every night. And he and I both realized at this point that the grays come in threes. So when they would come for him, it would wake me up because I sense their presence. And so I raised up and looked and realized it was not my female ET mother. So they took their hand and told me to lay down and go and go back to sleep, that this was not about me. So then
Nancy, could you explain your ET mother, the gray that is a female? She's a female, right? Or
she's female.
And okay,
and she's about 4 to 5 foot tall.
Okay. How are you associated with her? You're the daughter or the offspring of her?
No, she is a hybrid of the tall grays.
Okay.
And they have a soul. When she communicates with me, I hear it in my head, but it doesn't have any inflection in it at all. It is, and it's really hard to know because it just sounds like maybe me thinking something sometimes, but it's really, I know that she's female. I just know. I don't know how I know, but I know.
The energy can do that.
She vibrates that energy. Yeah.
You mentioned something else, that she had a soul. Now, some of them don't have a soul. Are these biomechanical?
No, not engineered? These are biological, and but they are definitely on a task. They are on a mission, and they work for the other higher up extraterrestrials. So when they come down, there is no negotiation. For a matter of fact, I saw the first time that I know of that my children were taken. I was actually in the room when it happened, and I witnessed that, and they would not let me be a part of it. And we were staying at a hotel at Key West, and we were in a Marriott hotel on the beach. And my ex-husband and I were in one bed, and 3 children were in the other bed. 2 of the children were mine. The other child was my ex-husband, oldest child, only child at that time. And so when they came into our hotel room, I raised up, and I saw immediately there was one right next to me, and a gray at the foot in between the beds. And then one was going around to the side to where the boys were. And they were all 3 boys. 2 were my boys, and 1 was a stepson. And they were wearing something different from what I had ever seen. They were wearing like a robe, and it had kind of a high collar like thing. Mm-hmm. So, and they were shorter than than my ET mother that I call, So what happened is I raised up and was looking, because I didn't really know what was going on, and I didn't know who they were. They weren't the ones that I were familiar with. So they pressed me down and said, "This is not about you." And I was like, "What do you know?" Anyway, then they put me at that sleep paralysis point.
Yes.
I was wide awake. I
Yeah.
was wide awake, and I was laying on my stomach and looking like this, sideways, laying flat, but I could not speak and I could not move.
Right.
And they got my two boys, and they had that was the first event that I had ever seen them happen to.
I want to tell the audience that there is a difference between, you mentioned sleep paralysis, but there's a difference between being dumbed down. Like I say, the ETs, I've been dumbed down several times. I know the difference between sleep paralysis and being dumbed down. Sleep paralysis is when your body, is not, your mind wakes up before your body, and your body, you can't move, and you're like that for a little while. But with being dumbed down, you can actually observe, and you're not panicky because your body is just dumbed down. It's not sleep paralysis.
It's that subconscious level is open and wide aware of what's going on. Right. But it keeps you kind of in a sedated type state.
And you mentioned also why me, or why us, or the ones who are contactees. And I think you just answered your own question by saying that you decided to come here.
Yeah. And I was extraterrestrial before I came here, and I made a decision to come. And they used to always tell me in my 20s, or 30s, I've been through 2 divorces in my life, and it was very traumatic to me. And it wasn't, divorce is not a pretty thing at all.
I've been there too. Yeah.
Okay, so you understand. So anytime I would just get to thinking, well, this is just unbelievable. I don't know how anybody could handle this. And they would come to me and tell me that I could come home anytime I wanted to, if this got to be too much. And when they first started telling me this, it didn't resonate with me that this was not my home. But as I got older, and I like bam, 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 or ding, 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 finally, I realized my home is, I have family waiting for me there,
Right.
So,
but we have to live this life. We have to get through this trial and error. It's a test for us, for our souls. It's a test for our souls.
Right.
It's a school thing too. You said, when they said, "No, not you," your ex-husband and your kids, did they dumb them down when they worked on you, or vice versa?
They never woke up. They don't. And so the next morning, we all went to breakfast, and I asked the boys, does anybody have any strange dreams or anything you'd like to talk about? And they were just like, nope. And I was like, okay, because they were not harmed, and a lot of people don't realize that when they do an exam, it is not the probing and all these horrible things you hear about, but they are checking on our evolutionary stage, our mental ability. And for me, they're checking to see, how am I coping with being a contactee, and how is my human being life going? Because they want me to experience them both and keep them balanced. And that's why they've never pressured me too much and never told me too much, because I do have to have my human life, and I love my human life, and I love my family.
There's 3 ways that they intervene with a human being, and what you can call abductions. One is bedside. They come to your bedside. They might take a DNA sample, and they take a frequency sample. They read your mind. And that's what these little grays do. They're like computers. They read your mind. They can read your history, what's going on with you, and how you're doing health-wise. And sometimes they'll even tweak your health and make.
Yes, they do that. I've had that done.
I've had that done just here lately in my ankle. But they follow you along through your life. And also the second way is when they take you on board ship. And a lot of women, when they get, when they get eggs taken from them, or they get their eggs fertilized, that's more of a surgical type procedure, what they do with needles. Now, some women claim that's a really horrific thing to go through with, and it's kind of like a nightmare. For us guys, it's just a semen sample. It's just a tube that goes to the groin, and that's about it. I've seen that a couple
Yeah.
times myself. And then there's a third kind where they take you to the dimensional realm in which your body is frozen, but they take your energy, your essence, your consciousness, and they take it with them to another dimension. And that's happened to me about 6 times in the past 6, 7 years. But I don't have any recollection of where I went. I know I went somewhere. That's what's what I mean. I wish I can regress all this, but those are the ways. And they do dumb down people around you. Your wife, like my wife, was dumbed down a lot of times, and she didn't know what was going on. I had to wake her up and say, "Hey, did you feel this or hear this?" They said no. So they go after their target, and usually the target is like you or me or somebody that they're following, and they don't have to have implants. Implants are made for different other things. I think I had an implant that goes into the DNA through the nervous system. And
let me explain something to you. Okay. The lower rim extraterrestrials, there would be some grays, there would be some reptilians, some humanoids, and then there's always a bad fraction of government or military,
right,
or black hats, or cabal, Illuminati, etc. All these things. Okay, there's these entities that are all there. Now, they are not the same entities as the interdimensional beings. Now, I am 63 years old. My fertile years ended at around 40 for me. Now, I do not have the stories that these other women have of being used for eggs and my children being used for sperm. Interdimensionals, that's not the agenda on their thing. Now, those are probably lower rim extraterrestrials. The ones that I'm in contact with have been with me my whole life and monitored me, and they have tweaked my DNA and helped me with health issues, but I've never been a egg donor to them, ever. Because I think a lot of people get confused with the lower dimensionals.
Right.
See, you have to understand, you're about 2020. That's probably wrong, but there was when these lower dimensional extraterrestrials found out interdimensionals were coming, they were just given the message: get out of there, quit putting havoc on the humanity of Earth, stop. And so I've seen video coverage from the ISS where you'll see thousands of crafts leaving Earth. And those were the beings that were probably doing those type of abductions that you're talking about. So that's where contactee and abductee are two different things. And it's with different beings. The beings that I am around are very loving. And once they got here in our solar system, those guys had to back off. But there's still some still here creating these wars like we're having right now, and other things. I mean, they're on their last limbs and they know it. So they're fighting tooth and nail to try to make it last as long as they can. And one of the main reasons why they don't want us to ascend or become more intelligent and smarter is because if they can keep us thumbed down or dumbed down, they have control over us, and they've had control over us for the last 100 years. But we are becoming wiser. We are becoming more intelligent. Our DNA is being tweaked.
I think that's been thousands of years, Nancy, that they've had the elites, the royals, the rich people of the world, and the cabal, and you mentioned these other groups, they're all involved in this control thing. They actually want a new world order to enslaving us more. I mean, we're right now we're slaves, but the
interdimensionals are here to change that. So one thing about these lower realms, they can never become interdimensional. They can never, they're like locked into the solar system. They can't evolve out any further.
How about their souls? Where do they go when they pass?
Well, first of all, they probably all have souls. Well, they do. They all have souls, and they believe in a creator source. Okay. That would be our version of a God. They don't believe in God like we believe in God. They don't believe in all these different religions and things of this nature. They believe in a creator source who is all and who is a spirit over everything. So that doesn't mean that the extraterrestrials did not play a role in creating us. They did.
They did.
And the creator source knows this, and it was okay because they were helping us to evolve. So back to what I was saying, where these lower rim extraterrestrials are locked in the solar system, they can't evolve out and become interdimensional. So they don't want us to. And here's the beautiful thing. We can become interdimensional with our help from our extraterrestrial brothers. They will come down here and assist us in eliminating poverty, help us enjoy our lifespans more, increase our lifespans, teach us. The water and food that we have is so toxic, they would not eat or drink our water or eat our food. So they will teach us how to be better about taking care of our planet, our waters, our air, everything. And another thing people don't realize, and this is one of the main reasons they wanted us to go to Mexico, is they wanted where we were. It was not a touristy area. I mean, nobody even spoke English, but they wanted us to see the real thick forest and experience seeing an indigenous group of people called the Zapotec, and they are a dying race, and they wanted us to experience seeing what it was like for a race. They're also called the people above the clouds, because up in Mexico they live on this mountain, and when you look down off the mountain, clouds are below you. So they wanted us to see this because their young people are leaving there, and they're losing their ancestral heritage, and they're a dying race, and their race goes back and as old as the Incas and Mayans and some of those. So they wanted us to see what that was like, and how being pulled away by materialistic and technology, how that race is dying. And this has happened to a lot of different races throughout the history of humans, but they wanted us to see it and experience what it was like. And they also wanted us to experience and look at the fact that everything is alive. They take their hands out and say, everything is alive. And when they say that, they're talking about the trees. They're talking about the plants. They're talking about our water. They're talking about mountains. They're talking about everything.
The earth, yeah. Now, when these interdimensional beings come to you, Nancy, do they come to you in a physical form, or are they? Yes. Are they glowing white?
They are. No. Well, I've seen them in a energy glowing white. I call it. It's more like a etheric kind of look, but a lot of times they're physical beings. Yeah. You know, like I'll see the grays as grays, and I'll see the humanoids as humanoids, you know. But the thing is, they said at some point that we would be able to communicate with trees and things and plants, and that we would understand that they were alive. But, you know, right now we can't. And they were explaining to me how most animals, when they look at us, they don't see us like this. They see us as energy beings. They see us energy, you know. And once everybody takes off their human costume, we all look alike. Right. There is no difference. Our souls, and we are one. We are one, and we are all connected, and we are all connected to extraterrestrials.
Right. I know that there's several different kinds of interdimensional and extraterrestrials, and there's landlocked extraterrestrials that live underground. We don't know how much under Antarctica. They've been doing some research there. Yes. There's a city under there, and there's other ETs there. But yeah. Now, coming to the present day, Nancy, do you think these dimensional entities, are they fighting back against the evil, I guess, lower ETs that are causing all the problems here? Are they trying to help us right now?
Yes, they are. When I was up on craft, they were letting me kind of wander around, and I'm still fascinated by everything. I'm like wanting to pick up and touch and all these things. But I did see a group of humans or humanoids, and they were all like in some kind of suits or something, and they were all in line marching out, and I went up to one because they had all stopped at one area, and I said, what are y'all doing? Are you preparing for something? What exactly is going on? And they told me, we're not allowed to talk to you about this.
Yeah, a lot of times, like I met a couple, in regressed dreams, and it was very, very real. And I knew it because I've seen 6 up close UFOs, so I know the contact that I've had was it was physical and is also, regressed, because there's a seed that's planted. But I see these things as being, the lower forms, you call them. Those have messed with me a few times, but I think when the higher forms come in, I feel the energy. My whole body is just,
It's a different feeling.
yeah, you just mentioned it a while ago, and my body has it feels good.
It does.
Makes
It's
you
hard
feel,
to explain to people. It's not like an orgasm, but it's pretty darn close.
right. Yeah. Yeah.
But you
It's
hate to
euphoric.
use that word because,
The word is
it's hard
euphoric.
to find the words for it but it's just unbelievable
Yeah.
feeling. And, it is euphoric. That's the
Right.
word.
Yeah.
And, and when it first happens to you, you don't know what to think.
Right. You don't know if they're healing you or they're making contact with you or reading you. I think they're
Yeah.
doing all the above. They're reading you and finding out what's going. But the last time was about a week ago. My ankle, there was energy spinning around my ankle, and I've had a little problem with my ankle, and it felt good. And I woke up and I said, "What's going on?" And it went on for 15 minutes. I said, "Wow." So that's the energy you're talking about. So I can relate to that. And I've had
Yes.
the whole body from the toes to the head.
Yeah.
Those are what you're saying. Those are the, I guess, dimensional beings that you're speaking about, Nancy.
Yes. Yes. And when I was younger, I would wake up and they would vibrate me from head to toe, toe to head. And, I never understood how in the world I was going through that ceiling or through that window or through that door. But I understand now. They were changing my frequency. I was 3-dimensional and they were moving me up to their level, 4th or 5th or whatever they are. It could be, I don't have any clue, but they were making me the same as their frequency. And then I could go straight through the ceilings and things, and I could look down and see my empty bed
Well,
and my little.
we are made up of frequencies. Everything is.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I remember putting my arm through a metal door, my front door, because I was afraid I was going to bump my head. Something was behind me telling me to walk through it. So I finally walked through it. And when I did, I guess I went up to the ship or wherever I was going. But yeah, they speed your frequencies up really high, and you can walk through anything. Wouldn't that be nice if we can do that on our own?
Yeah. Yeah. It would. But it took me a long time to get to this point to understand. There was such a long time that I didn't, and they're very patient, and they know that humanity, it's going to take them a while, and they're very patient, very loving, and they will wait, but they are here ready and waiting.
Right. Well, they live longer than we do.
Yes.
We live up to 76, 80 years old. They live up to 800, 900 years old. If you
Yeah.
you go back and look at the story of Noah, he lived 960 years old, and Enki, and also, so, these people lived a long time, and those were ETs back then. So they lived a long time. We don't have that longevity. They took that away from us for some reason. I guess we was penalized. Maybe.
I don't really know everything. I'll be the first to tell you, I do not know everything. And I'm learning more and more all the time. And I think a lot of it, I know, well, when I ask them, they'll say, you already know. And I know because of me having a family there and a family here that block a certain, like when I'm there, I know that there's peers around watching me, analyzing, or checking to see, how I'm doing, that kind of thing. But I make a point to not make eye contact, because if it's my family and all that comes flooding back in me, I don't know what that's going to be like, because I love my family here. I have no intention of leaving. I'm a grandmother. I'm a mother. I have no intention of, this is important, but I do know that there is a family there waiting on me.
Hey, could you tell me, a lot of people say, okay, when we die, where do we go? And some people that don't believe, they say, well, you just go 6 feet down. I heard my dad say that, and I said, come on, no, you're spoiling everything. We go to another dimension. Could you talk about that?
Yeah. The way that my perception of it is that our vessel, we are in a vessel. It dies, but our consciousness and our soul goes up to creator source, where there are elders and different, I've met with the elders before, and that's just a group of different highly evolved beings. But when you get there, decisions are made on whether you come back to earth and experience more things. Some people make a contract to not stay here very long. They may not choose to have a very long life, and that's why a lot of people, young people, die, and we go, why in the world do these things happen? Mm-hmm. But see, what we don't know is we don't know what kind of agreements that they made before they got here. So it's very strange, very complicated. But so when we're up there, we can decide to either come back here and try the experience again, or if we feel like that we've accomplished everything that we wanted to do here and we have mentally evolved, we can choose to become an extraterrestrial. And then we can also decide, if we just think we've done plenty of all these things, we can stay in an etheric, non-physical state, an energy state, and be up there, which is really close to where the one creator source is.
Right. Well, a lot of people, there's scientists now talking about it, and a lot of people I know, they say really heaven and hell doesn't exist the way
no, they don't.
When you go up and you haven't lived this right, that you didn't get this life right. I think sometimes, and you're talking reincarnation, right?
Yes.
We're talking about Buddhism and Hinduism, things of that nature. Reincarnation is you come back and then you try it again and get it right, or you go somewhere else. Like you said, you contract. You have a free will. That's what they say in the
We're here on free will.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe you can talk about that a little bit, Nancy, about the free will. And I know if you get into ancient biblical history and ancient history, you start putting all this together. Like 260,000 years ago, our DNA was manipulated by extraterrestrials. But we don't have anything to fear, especially right now.
No.
Nancy. Tell us why you think the process we're going through now is a big change. Some people say we're going to the fifth dimension. We're changing. And,
well, I think what that means is that our DNA is activating and we are becoming very sharp. We're becoming very intelligent. And these old ways of thinking, we are going to discard, and we're going to not need those anymore. We're going to realize that we should not be working 9 to 5, living paycheck to paycheck. We should be enjoying every aspect of our life, from being young to being middle-aged to being senior citizens. It should all be a blessing. So we'll learn to slow down, not be so materialistic and competitive in those fields. We'll learn to share among people things and have more empathy for others. And we will learn to appreciate our earth and our surroundings. So we have a lot to learn, and they know this.
There's one thing that you said, that all of us are getting smarter. I don't see all of us getting smarter. I see about 50. And a lot of people are corrupt. They're into crime. They're into shooting one another. It's
Yeah.
crazy, and it's gotten more crazy. It seemed like it opened the floodgates to
Yeah.
immoral acts. And
Well,
half of us are trying to obey the law and stay go good. And the other half is saying, no, no, I'll take the money. Give me the money. I'll take it. I'll do anything. I'll sell out the country.
yeah.
That's bad. And
Yeah.
these people will come back. They'll be reincarnated some way or another, or they'll be
Well,
the victim next time around, right, Nancy?
extraterrestrials do not believe in time. There's no such thing as time. They do not believe in money or currency. There is no such thing. There's no need for that. So there's a lot of things we can learn from them, because you have to understand they are millions of years ahead of us on evolution. They have experienced these things themselves, and they've seen other beings in the universe go through these things. So we're right here at a pivotal point, and at a good point, to where if we will accept them and let them intervene, and we take their advice, being here on free will, they can't do everything for us. We make mistakes, we have to fix them. I mean, it's just like a child. If they make a mistake, you tell them they did wrong, and they suffer the consequences that come with it. Same thing for us. But on big things that might be out of our hands, they can step in and help with.
Okay, now
So
let's talk about the difference between the question I always bring up to a lot of the contactees and people that know is going on is, what's the difference between a ghost, a poltergeist, an angel, or an extraterrestrial, or a dimensional being? Now, you explained the difference between an extraterrestrial and a dimensional being. What's the difference between a ghost or spirit, or or an angel? What's the difference between those?
well, I think, I apologize for the train, but anyway, I've seen a ghost, and what I think my perception of this is, and I'm not saying this is the gospel, but I think that what we're seeing is tears in time, like timelines. Right. We're seeing tears in timelines, and there's like bleed overs. So, 100 years back from now, they might be seeing us, and we don't even realize that they're seeing us as ghosts, and vice versa. I think we're seeing tears in timelines.
It's a thin veil between us and the other dimension. Now, when these ghosts, though, they actually haunt a certain house, and they're always there. Why are they always there? I mean, is it the residual energy that stays there, or is it?
I think that has a lot to do with it too. To be honest with you, I've never done a lot of research in that aspect of things, and I certainly don't ask them questions about it. But I have seen what appeared to me was a Confederate soldier walking across my backyard, and this is when I was working at Fort Benning on the military post, and I was living in Fort Mitchell because it was cheaper to live there than it was in Columbus, Georgia. And I was just sitting out one evening, and here comes this ghost, and he was carrying a gun and a little pail and just going straight across my backyard. And he didn't notice me, and I just sat quiet and watched him, and it didn't scare me.
That's the thing about
so I know that these things are real, and I know that the more that we wake up, we will see more things we'll be aware of more things. That's part of our DNA activating. We will be more open, and there's a lot of capabilities we have as human beings that have been dumbed down, or and suppressed by society. But once we start looking within and realizing who we are, and we have these hidden capabilities that we have not used, we will find that by changing our diets, paying attention to what we eat, paying attention to what we drink, that our pineal gland will start to function again, and we'll start being able to be telepathic. We'll start being able to cure ourselves of some diseases and things of this nature. And overall, we just need to be learn to be more positive. Good things happen to positive people, and it's for a reason. It's because you're generating something inside your soul, and it will help heal. You can heal yourself with just having good vibrational frequency and trying to be positive. So it's just like this war that's going on. What I tell people is, do not pick a side, because if you pick a side, well, you're giving away a little bit of energy towards the fact that there is a war, So the best thing to do is not pick a side. Pray for peace. Put your energy into the peaceful part of it. Choose peace. So that's another thing too, is if people could learn to just try to be positive, it would help tremendously. And when extraterrestrials look down on us, they can see what frequency the majority of Earth is vibrating. So people like me, once we're activated, and I can feel it even right now talking about this, I feel it. We create a really good frequency, and we will help to raise humanity's frequency, but it's also our job to educate humanity on how they can do this very same thing. We have all these capabilities. We just, a lot of times when people would show a little like they were telepathic or whatever, they would be accused of being wizards or witches, and be burned at the stake.
Yeah,
so
I think they talk about disclosure, but I heard there's a mention that the ETs don't think we're ready. The extraterrestrial, they don't think we're ready, because look at how crazy people are getting now. I mean, they're in the streets and battling.
Extraterrestrials, interdimensionals are here. They are waiting for us. Mm-hmm. They are waking people up. With me, I have face to face. With others, it will be in dream states. It is happening. It is happening as we speak.
Right.
People are waking up and becoming more aware of what's going on in our world, and questioning things, and also saying we can change these things, and we can. We can.
Right. Yeah. I just hope the day comes that we can live in peace, and that we can have these extraterrestrials and dimensional beings come down to us and not be afraid to deal with us, because I think we have kind of like a 50-50 split, people that need to awaken to the fact that we are spiritual beings. And I see these battles in the streets and things going on. I let it get to me a little bit. It drags me.
See, you got to stop doing that.
Yeah.
Instead of thinking, I see this bad, I see that bad, think about, what good did you see today? Mm-hmm. Did you not enjoy our conversation right now?
Yeah, right.
Do I not make you feel better and tell you that the world can be better, we can be better, and we can
my chair was vibrating a while ago.
Yeah, that's the whole thing.
Yeah.
You just got to get the right mental frame, and what you exuberate in your positivity and stuff, it flows over to others, and they will want to be like that.
Yes,
I promise you, it works.
And manifestations work also.
Yes,
the universe to help you with things.
But see, you got to start. There's got to be people to start somewhere. It has to begin somewhere, and it is time. It is time. There's no waiting for tomorrow on these things. It is time. They are here, and they're waiting on us, and it's going to be beautiful, wondrous, and we have everything in the world to look forward to. And I feel that with all my heart. I just hope that we can make it there long enough. We will. They're very patient. We will.
Well, I'm getting old.
Well, I'm old. How old are you?
What do you think? You're in your 60s? No, I'm 74.
Really? I'm 63, so I would have thought you were in your 60s.
I'll be 75 in about a month and a half. So
yeah.
So but I feel that I'd like to see it during my lifetime.
I think you will. I think we both will.
I think it's going to happen within this year. I think things are changing, like you said.
Things are happening really fast.
Right.
And certain things have to fall into play. Everything I think is already planned. It's just, it's like everything has to orchestrate in the right way. I will say this. I do know that there's a possibility that the first extraterrestrials that do come to us face to face with humanity may not be the interdimensionals. They may not be in favor of humanity, but I do know if that does happen, the interdimensionals will be not that very far behind them and take over of the whole program.
Right.
So,
I just thought there's about 4 different races working with our military, I heard, and they're working here on Earth. And these are the ones that you're talking about they're earthbound, and they come here is in a physical role. They help us along, I guess, in technology. They're trying to get us to where, but they don't trust us with a whole lot of technology. And the fear of a third world war, you hear it everywhere on the media. That third world war, I hope either the angels are interdimensional beings or the extraterrestrials that are here will stop those bombs from going off. They have been messing with our nuclear silos, these UFOs. There's stories about them turning off the computers and everything. So I don't think they want us to burn this earth. They don't want us to
they will not let that happen. I do know that there could be there could be an event, and it could be of minimal loss, but enough to finally wake up the rest of the world.
Mm-hmm. I've heard people say, and you mentioned a while ago about young people dying, like kids dying. Well, they contracted themselves to do that. There's another thought that I had, and God, the creator, and he created ETs. And so ETs have a free will to do what they're doing. So they create us. So I think God sets in place a beginning to life, and then everything else spawns off from it. I think, what happens with life is that God doesn't really concern himself with our physical vessel, because look at all the pain.
It's temporary.
Yeah. And he concerns himself with our soul.
Yes, that's what he's concerned with, is our soul.
Right.
Yeah. And that's the goal, is to evolve, become more intelligent, make wiser decisions each time around, not make the same mistakes. And that's where the beauty of this is, that the interdimensionals they're a million years ahead of us. They've done all this stuff. And we're lucky in the fact that they're willing to step in and assist, not do everything, not fix everything, assist and help us to make the right decisions.
Right. I see a lot of these preachers at a funeral or whatever, and they're asked, why did my child die at 10 years of age of cancer? And so the preacher don't really have an answer for them. They like they say, well, we don't know how God works. He works his own way. But like I said, I'm going back to what I said a while ago, that God doesn't concern himself with our vessels. It's our spiritual soul that he's concerned about that comes back.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah. That's
and that little child's life is not over.
Yeah.
That was just that was its human experience. And maybe that's all that the experience that soul needed at the time. And now they can choose where they want to go next. It doesn't, when we die, only the body dies, not our consciousness and not our soul.
Right. What do you think? I'm going to ask you a question about this. What about doubles? Are people that are being duplicated? That you can talk a doppelganger, or you can talk about a Vardog, I think that's the way it's pronounced in Sweden.
I really don't know anything about that. I know nothing about that.
Say sometimes the extraterrestrials create a double, and I think I ran into a double of mine. If you run into them, you'll die. That's when you'll die, when you see your double. But I had one made back in 2010, 2011, and people saw it. And this double was about 2 hours ahead of me, and I had people see it. And now one guy almost beat my butt because he thought I was lying to him, that I was sitting there for 2 hours. But that was something else that followed me from New Mexico, the Trinity site.
Well, see, that was probably the lower realm
Right.
extraterrestrials, because interdimensional, they don't play around with things like that. They're not tricksters. They're not. That's something totally lower realm.
Right.
And that they do those things to keep us in havoc all the time. You know,
What
they
you're
feed
saying,
off the fear. They feed off the energy that it creates. So those are not interdimensionals.
the interdimensionals that you're saying are probably closer to God, right?
Yes.
They're more
Yes.
angelic. They're more
Yes.
benevolent. Yeah. So yeah, and the ones that are just here, they operate kind of like we do, physical. You know, they do the physical thing, and they double, they'll doppelgangers, whatever. But yeah, I've met humanoid ETs, and I felt their energy, and the ones that I didn't relate to, but I did relate to one, and she said the same thing you did. There's no time and there's no distance, you know, in space or time. These
Right.
angels are these interdimensional beings, can get here in a second's notice.
Yeah.
In a flash of an eye. They can travel that fast.
Yeah.
Of course, the lower form too of ETs, they get here pretty quick through wormholes. They know how to, you know, they know the science of all that. So it's kind of hard to differentiate between who's what and what's what. But
I got something else to tell you.
yeah, sure.
Okay. Their spacecraft for the interdimensionals are living beings. Okay. Their pilots are, well, especially in the Greys, every race usually serves a function. Like one race may be all scientists, another race may be all doctors, another race may be all explorers, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. But there's always one race of Greys, and they are the pilots. Okay. And other interdimensional extraterrestrials, pretty much the same. They are kind of born in with that ability. And what they do is their mind is in sync or coordinates with the crafts, right, because it's a living being and it has its own consciousness, and they connect to each other. So basically, the pilot extraterrestrial tells the craft, I want to go to point A and then point B. And then that between the two, this craft goes with just a blink of the eye. I mean, it just, whoa, you know, so they're using, they know how to use frequency and get between dimensions, and they know how to, you know, in other words, our physics does not apply to them. So their technology is way beyond ours. So we have a lot to learn.
Yeah. I think that whenever we get to that point that we get as technical as they are, they might come closer to us, you think, Nancy?
Yes. Must definitely, yes.
Because I guess that might slow down our conventional wars and what we're doing here. Wanted to ask you about now, when do you bring these visitors to you? Can you actually manifest them to come to you or talk to you? Do you have that ability yet, Nancy?
I can talk to them, but they and express something that I would like for them to, I'd like to have contact with them. They don't come immediately, but maybe 4, 5, 6 hours they do so. But I don't do that on demand or anything like that. I mean, they have a lot more things to do than just pop around trying to please people, you know.
I think these ETs have their own time when they're going to visit you, and sometimes it's not it's when you least expect something that happens. It don't happen day after day after day. It'll happen once, and then 2 months later it might happen again. So yeah, they're on their own time. There's these extraterrestrials.
Yeah.
Now talking about angels, what do you think angels are, Nancy?
I really don't know. I think in the old days they were interpreted as angels because in the old days, they didn't have anything to compare it to or anything, So I think they were extraterrestrials.
I think they're interdimensional beings.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like you're talking, because they're spiritual and that type of thing.
Yeah.
So you have something else you want to mention or talk about? Is there something?
No, as a matter of fact, I need to go pick up my granddaughter.
Oh,
I was just looking at the time.
oh, okay.
Didn't realize
All
that.
right. All right. We'll close the show out then and do that. And
Okay.
so Nancy, tell them where they can get a hold of you and where they can talk to you, whatever.
Yes. I have timefordisclosure.com, and also my Facebook page is Time for Disclosure. We have never been alone. Mm-hmm. So yes.
Okay.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, I loved it. I love talking to another contactee.
Yes.
We can always have those pieces of the puzzle together. I've been listening to the Dave Emmons Strange Reality Show. Nancy Thames has been the guest and a great guest, and I really enjoyed it. And you can see her on Facebook, actually, and that's where we found one another. And I belong to her page, her site. So we those who have the same, I guess, ideas and things that goes on with their life, we kind of contribute to each other's pieces of the puzzle, as I call it. So yes. I want to thank everybody for listening in. Hope you enjoy the show, and we'll catch you all later, and good night or goodbye for now. Bye-bye.